Yeah.
Stuck in horrible traffic.
Horrible traffic.
I just remembered some good memories I should have mentioned.
It's a little late for that.
Yeah, I know. I'm disappointed in myself that I forgot.
Best memories part 2.
Okay, I'm disappointed in you too, so
That's
it's a
okay.
mutual feeling.
Yeah.
Tyler, if you're going to talk about how disappointed you are, you have to say it in the mic.
First of all, I knew where I was sitting. Thank you very much. Second of all, I wasn't speaking to the audience. I was speaking to that guy.
Yeah, but the audience wants to hear what you're speaking to them.
The audience wants to hear me tell him that I'm disappointed in him.
Yes.
I don't know about that one. I guess you're the audience. So yeah, if you say yes, well, sorry.
I have all the power.
No, I do. Welcome to the Blue Eclipse podcast, everybody. I'm Frank Joseph Hall. We're going to go this way.
I am Jeffrey Todd Bassett the second.
I feel like I don't have to introduce you this time, so you're just a guy. Like, you're not a guest anymore. This is like your third one.
Oh, hey, I'm Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Zeke.
I'm Joe. And
Zeke. That's
quick fun tangent. In college, I was a part of a freshman Bible study. There was a guy whose middle name was also Joseph. He went by Joe. There was a guy who was the third, as was I, and both of them, their first name was William. Wow. It was very weird. It was very interesting connections that way. Tyler says he has a topic. So, Zach, do you have a topic? I'm only mostly kidding. Continue, Tyler.
Bit of truth hidden in the sarcasm.
Yeah, that's sarcasm.
Anyways, so you were talking about recently. We won't say how recently
because we don't know what order these podcasts are going out in.
So you're talking about your favorite memories, and you're talking about one of them being a moment from when you were DMing, and it got me thinking about DM styles and what your goal is as a DM. Now,
sorry, Jeff.
No,
right,
no, he's not necessarily out of the conversation because he's also a player. So it's the other side
Sorry,
of that.
Jeff.
The other side of that
You
coin
might
is
DM someday too.
the other side of that coin is what do you want from a DM, and is that different than how you run your own game?
Yeah, because you can have two people who just have different styles, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they don't get along. It's just like one gets enjoyment from one thing, one gets enjoyment for the other.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's happened a few times. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
doesn't mean
So that's where I wanted to start, but I wanted someone else, one of these two.
Let's go with Zachary
We'll go with
Dunkerton.
Zach, since you're newer to DMing. Actually, this might be a
Actually,
good
I
starting
think
point.
you were like me, right? Your first interaction in any RPG was as the GM.
Yeah, it was. I ran a Fantasy Flight Star Wars game that lasted like 6 sessions.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
better
not
than
gonna
most
lie.
D&D campaigns.
That sounds interesting enough that I would love
So
to do
the
something
question was, what do I look for in a GM, and what do I try to do as a
So
GM,
we'll
right?
start.
Yeah.
Here's the base question. We'll start as we kind of go around this, and then we'll open the thing up.
We'll open the floor.
Yeah, open the floor basically. So
It's a very complicated
when you
process.
DM, is there a specific thing that you are attempting to do? Do you have a specific goal? Are you a storyteller, or are you like trying to, build something? Like what are you trying to do as a DM? Like when you feel creative and you start working on stuff, like what do you want? What are you trying to accomplish with that? Or like what are you trying to make your players feel?
I want them to have fun.
That
But
is
I
a very
also
good thing.
I also want them to be afraid. I want them to get angry. I want to see the emotional spectrum in my game, and I tend to get that for the most part in my games that I've run. I try to be like real honest about what I do. Like I do not fudge dice ever. So it's like, oh, the bad guy hit you with a natural 20 and you're almost dead. I go through with it. Like that's how it was. I rolled the die and it went the way it went.
I definitely have the mentality of the dice can sometimes tell a better story than what you had in your head. There has been a few times where that is the case. Like as much as you were like, oh, Jill's gone. Like the fact that the party kind of needed a character like Hope at the time it showed up, like you and I probably would not have recognized that even though we have played it for so long.
I mean, I'm kind of recognized it. I just didn't know I was going to be the one to end up playing it.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It wasn't like
There's been times like that though, where it's like I've had a person, Zach Brooks, who he was trying to convince his like family to like adopt like I know I'm worshiping a different God, but promise. And like I was like, yeah, he's gonna convince them. Nope. He rolled so badly that his family abandoned him, and that made it a much more interesting story than if he rolled well, So like stuff like that's always interesting.
Yeah, and it adds the randomness to the world, and especially when you like fudging a little bit makes it much easier to do it later. So you wind up not thinking about it. I used to do that a lot with the Fantasy Flight game, and because I wanted them to go along with the story that I had made, not realizing that I needed room to improv. I needed room for random things to happen.
Yeah.
So honesty, getting the full emotional spectrum from your players in terms of like a reaction.
Yeah, and fun.
And making sure that they are having fun.
Yeah, to me, fun is a huge thing. The way I do it is I enjoy the world building aspect so much that I will put in way more work than is needed. A lot of people will say don't do that because then you get burnt out and whatnot. I enjoy it enough that I don't care. And so the way I approach it is there is lore for almost anything you can think of. It's up to the players to decide if they care enough to look into it. Most of the time, they don't.
Yeah, they really don't.
And that can screw people over sometimes. Sometimes, so so obviously fun. There's that mentality. I am much more of an improv guy. I like to just see where, like, I like moments to happen, and I wait in the moment because sometimes, like, oh man, everyone's not doing anything. All right, orcs attack.
Ooh.
And by orcs, I mean shadow people. Stuff like that. Like I have plans and stuff like that, but a lot of like the actual specifics of it, I don't per se plan out too much. The big thing I try to do is more like if people want to role play in my game, they can. If they don't, they don't. It depends on the group. I can't force. I mean, you can force players, but like at the same time, you can't. So my more thing is like the big moments, like the moments of drama and tension. Like if I can get those, if I can get a like reaction in that regard, revealing that Left is alive, here's your character sheet, or Ormid is alive again and now you're trapped in the Shadowfell, or the reveal at the tournament where it's like, oh, you thought it was just a tournament? No, it's an anime tournament arc. That's right. We don't even get to the final fight. Years of fighting the bad guy now that you're all depleted of your resources. Have fun.
That fight was fun.
Oh, it was so fun. Yeah, especially when no one was hitting Ormid until the guest character who played a rogue nat 20'd 60 damage on him at level 7.
It was like
Level
6
or
or 5.
That's really good. Like literally depleted in most of his health, and then you got the final.
Yeah, 3 hero points and then chuck the spears.
It was great. That kind of a stuff. Yeah. 3 hero points to get on a raised column, which I'm like, oh, that's such like that's me. The role playing aspect I enjoy, and I want to do more, but I care more if players think outside the box. Mm-hmm. I want to reward stuff like that. So like, I'm glad that like the hero points do stuff like that, where you're like, you were like, I want a platform to raise me so I can be leveled with him so I can then be in range to hit him. And I'm like, that's awesome. Let's do that.
Yes.
Stuff like that. I think I enjoy players being creative. So there have been a few times people have outsmarted me, and I respect that. Savory has outsmarted me once in a campaign. I'm like, oh, all right.
What was that when he threw the hat?
It might have been when he threw the hat. I don't know. Yeah. There's been a few times where like people have outsmarted me and I'm like, good. You know what? You deserve this win. You can have this win. Good job for you. I'm mad at you, but I'll calm down and be excited for you. So yeah, that's more me. It's I more look for the moments of tension and drama. So like the shadow monster, the depression anxiety monster. That's a fun thing, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and
So
you
fun.
don't know when it's gonna attack.
Yay.
So fun.
Yep.
So
Yippee!
we'll get into what I look into for a GM later, but we're just doing styles right now.
So
Improv is a huge thing for me. I have the ability to be ready with anything, even if they don't go there. Mm-hmm. Like I fit that into improv. I hate like if I just know a lot of my world, I can improv like crazy. Like, oh, this guy would know everything. This guy would know this thing. So it's improving, it's moments of drama, and it's inspiring characters to do just really outside the box stuff. Like Savory plummeting to his death with his character's mortal enemy, only to find out that his cape actually saves his life. That's a really cool moment. So,
Do you want me to go real quick and just keep it nice and simple?
sure. If you were to run a game, what do you think? If you were to ever run D&D 5th edition,
yeah,
and you had a group of players that were like ready and willing or whatever, what kind of game would you try to run? What would you aim for?
It's actually really funny because I've been thinking about doing that for my family.
that'd be cool, man.
Yeah. And so I absolutely know how I would try to run it. And it's probably not a surprise to any of you. Combat would probably be the main focus.
There's
But
nothing
no.
wrong with that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how much combat, like I care about combat a lot more than I realize
Yeah.
when I do like my unique combats, and I'm like, oh, didn't realize that.
Yeah.
So I get you.
But it's not combat for the sake of combat. It's combat. Like I want it to be super interesting, super meaningful.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this happens. This affects so much more than just this character got hit.
Yeah, you want them to care.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. Like, it's not like, oh, I hit the orc. It's like, no, I hit the guy who just murdered this village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other, I think, the secondary main focus in something that I would run would be NPCs in the world. That's something that, like, to have the freedom to just create a whole bunch of different people and see how your characters deal with that. It just sounds like so much fun.
Until the party inevitably goes to a place you didn't have planned, and then you have to make up an NPC on the spot.
Or
and
if they kill someone they weren't supposed to kill, that happens.
But you roll with it. Like, they kill someone you weren't supposed to kill. That's some problems for your players right now.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
I enjoy those moments. That's a moment of drama. It's like, how are you getting out of this mess?
My players have had a few of those moments of, oh, are we the bad guys?
Are we? That happens a little too much in D&D. It's like, are we the good guys in this scenario?
Are we the badsies?
No, you're not. You're not the good guys.
So that's how I'd run my game.
Cool.
I look forward to
like-
hearing
if you like,
you running it for your family.
You know what's
I
funny
hope
is
so.
if you were really into combat and like that sort of aspect, man, Ethan's game would be right up your alley.
Yeah, Ethan.
Or literally tonight, we are actually finally really starting Tomb of Horrors.
I want to run. I don't want to run Tomb Horror. I want to be a part of Tomb Horrors at some point.
And we're
so
all
bad.
level, is it 11? Or is it 12?
Yeah, we're 11, I believe.
I think
maybe
we're
12.
11.
Yeah, they have
Online
to. They
game.
have to be, or else.
Yeah, we're
Or
also
we'll die.
busted.
Yeah. Tomb Horrors. Difficile.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a grindhouse dungeon. Whole point is to die.
All right, Tyler.
So, running my game and what I've always tried to do is, for me, the best part of D&D is role-playing. Why I consider Dungeons & Dragons to be one of the best hobbies a person can have is being able to actually put yourselves in the shoes of someone else, even if it's in a fantasy setting or a sci-fi setting in some cases, like when I attempted to run Shadowrun, and I've also played in Shadowrun. Being able to do that is an incredibly good skill to have because it helps you feel more rounded as a person.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, mechanics in D&D are cool. Like, 5th edition's cool. You know, like my wheelhouse is not combat. I don't like my combats. I try to make somewhat impactful, but I never really go. I try to go out of the box, but like I know that that's not where my strength lies. I know that when I do that combat, the thing that's going to affect them is either how I describe it or who else is involved. Not so much the cool things, the things that they can think of, you know, outside or whatever, because they managed to do that without my help. I don't need to, like, I don't feel like I ever need to push my players to think more.
Yeah.
Because I feel like usually the type of people that I have in my game are already capable of doing that. So it leaves me more free to be able to work on other things. Like, for example, apparently I do NPCs pretty well. That's just what I was told throughout the game that I ran, that was like the strongest part of my game was the other characters in the world and how they felt like actual people and like the things that they've done feel like something someone would do. Like, it's not just like, apparently according to a lot of my players from my first game that I ran for like a year, they never ever really felt like this person was just giving them a quest. They never felt like they were just pushing the story forward or anything. Like, you know, like one of the biggest examples that I used was when I tried to take my party down into essentially like the Underdark. But I had already set up so much stuff above ground that they were just like, everything's really cool down here, but like we've got too much stuff to do up top. And I remember, because another big aspect for me is fun, but it's also like very clear. Like, I remember literally just being like, after a session, I was like, all right, look, you guys don't seem like you're enjoying the Underdark. I'm not enjoying the Underdark. I've got a way to make sure that we get us out of this situation.
Let's get out of here.
Yeah, I got a way to get us out of the situation next session, and then we can go back to the stuff that you guys seem to be enjoying more.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a huge skill in general. So I noticed a majority of our party. So there's a huge war plot. And while Tyler is invested in like which side are we going to take and stuff like that, most of the party was not. Like, they were like, we're not going to take sides in this war. And I'm like, okay. here's a big bad evil guy. This is clearly the person you're supposed to fight. This is what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm having a great time in the Shadowfell. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, I really like being
You don't
there.
have to be in it if you're not enjoying it.
I mean, we'll leave eventually, right?
I hope so.
Concept.
Listen,
We could all die.
contrary to popular belief, I don't want you guys to fail.
I think that's pretty evident, honestly.
I have a hard time believing that.
Really?
Yeah.
I thank you for saying I'm a good actor. I appreciate that.
No, it's just that every character I've ever had that's ever played against any of your characters, they've never felt like they were like. You tend to optimize.
A little bit.
Like a lot of it. It's not like a little, it's a lot. Like all the characters, like, you know, for example, like it fits the situation, but still the fact that I knew that when there was something else in the rafters with me, I was about to get hit for a stupid amount of damage because I knew you were going to have an assassin up there with that ability. Kind of kills the fun for me sometimes, because then I can start predicting, like, for example, when you started displaying the people in the tournament, like, I know that it's a tournament arc, but like the fact that they are literally almost min-maxed, it's like, all right, well, okay.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Because I don't do characters like that at all. I don't like my player characters and my NPCs. I never have anyone who's like, who is like, they might be strong at something, but I never optimize it because that feels unrealistic to me.
I think we've had this conversation. I don't know if I told you. So the reason, at least for the Sunday campaign, why I do mostly combats like that is because we don't all, like, sometimes we only play once a month.
Yeah.
And so it's more of like, I could do like, oh, this one where it's a little less high stakes. We're just fighting. We're going to win, like a bolstering kind of a thing.
Yeah. You've brought it. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is, like, unfortunately with like my weekly games, I do that a little bit more. Like in the Monday campaign, there'd be random encounters that it's like, this isn't meant to hurt us. This is actually more of an enjoyable fight kind of a deal. And then there's somewhere I'm like, this is an easy combat. And that's just part of it. You know, that's what happens in D&D, and like dice roll in one way or another. Like, like as tough as that combat seemed, like you guys did really well, surprisingly.
I would like to
in the most recent combat.
Yeah.
Like, I consider a tough combat like a lot of people going down constantly, and I think that's where it can lose a lot of the fun if it's just constantly down and back up and down and back up.
I wouldn't say that the last combat was difficult. Just felt forced, but that's a different topic.
Okay.
I would like to interject, like, slightly, just a little bit, not necessarily to take Frank's side, but
I mean, you are literally sitting on like, listen, it's the blues versus the black shirts. This is how it works.
Yeah, that's how
blue
this
versus
works.
black. But I feel like something, like a point that would very strongly go in Frank's favor is when you have a campaign that has not only lasted this long, but you have characters that are now level 12 that are really strong.
Yeah.
I feel like
8 players.
Yeah, a lot of people. Combat has to be not only tough, but it really has to be important.
That depends on how you look at the game, I would argue.
Yeah, no,
Because like I said, combat's not my focus.
Yeah.
Like you can ask Frank literally, I think the past 3 sessions in my game, I don't think they've fought anything. Like there hasn't been like any actual things drawn.
Yeah.
I think the last fault was literally against Sigwald, and that was like 3 sessions ago. And they've literally just been role playing since, because for me the importance is creating a world that feels like realistic, like to a T. Like the way I describe that world and the NPCs, I don't do things for, I don't make choices for things because I think it's going to have an impact on the players, or because I think that it's going to affect them in some way. I'm not trying to tell a story, if that makes sense. When I DM, my main goal is to let the people be able to be their characters. And if I can surround them in a world with realistic NPCs and realistic interactions and things going on that, you know, make sense to the characters and give them a certain purpose, then I get a lot closer to accomplishing that goal.
I have a question for you then, Tyler.
Sure.
Why are you running D&D? So I've seen a video that explained D&D, when it comes to RPGs, if you enjoy the combat aspect, it's great. But as a role-playing game, there are far better games where like the mechanics influence the role-playing. So like even Fate Core a little bit, it's like the combat is much like less. You played a few sessions. The combat wasn't as much. It was like the main point of it is like I do this skill to get me to be able to do this thing.
It was way more heavy into the role play.
Yeah.
Fate
So
core.
I'm not saying this in a negative way at all. I'm saying like, have you thought about looking into other RPGs to,
I mean, I literally tried running Shadowrun instead, like because there was a way more of a focus in that universe.
Yeah.
Especially on the role playing aspects, because building your character literally talks about their lifestyle, their background, everything. That is a part of the character creation in Shadowrun. That is like a key component of it. You literally, when you create your character, everything is built in. It's not like a D&D thing where you can kind of just have a whatever smorgasbord backstory. Like your backstory literally defines what your character is capable of doing.
I forget what the sci-fi RPG is called, but you literally you roll for your backstory and you can keep pressing forward. You could straight up die in character creation. Like, because you're like, oh, I want to be a veteran, but then I want to do this, but then I want to do that. And like, you can die in character creation. And like, that's kind of like the point is like focusing on that kind of a ideal.
And the reason why I choose D&D and haven't looked into other things and things like that is because D&D is also very flexible. Like I'm capable of doing what I'm doing just fine in D&D.
Yeah. And again, that's because the mechanics focus more on the combat aspect of it.
Yeah.
And so like when it comes to the role playing side,
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. I'm not doing it as a crit, like,
I think you can be critical. I'm fine with that. I don't but I get what you're saying. No, I understand that. Yeah.
Like Vampire the Masquerade's another one where it's like super heavy on the role playing.
Yeah, I know.
Like there's combat.
I've looked into the system. It's just easier with the groups of friends that I have to be like, hey, would you rather play some D&D?
It's super because D&D is so well known right now.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially because most of the friends that I have at least played D&D before. You know, and it's just easy to be like, hey man, I'm gonna run a D&D game. I want to play. But I also have to lay down the foundation work of like, hey, you know, like I apologized. I even told my players last session, I'm like, well, make sure there's combat next session because I know that a lot of people play D&D and they make their character so that they can do the cool things in combat. And I don't want to like completely tear them away from that.
I actually am a fan of players who use combat stuff out of combat. Like, however, like if they can like justify it however they want.
Well, yeah, you know.
I think that's really cool.
But yeah, it's like with running my game, I try very much to use my experiences to make characters feel more realistic, and I think I usually do a pretty good job. But you know, what do I know? I run my game. I only have had people tell me things, and usually I assume those people are my friends and don't want to hurt my feelings. So I'd actually really prefer some critical feedback at some point in my life. It'd be fantastic, but you know. Like, for example, when you said something about what happened in our last session, which I don't know if I want to, like, delve into what actually happened, but you said something about
I wasn't a fan of how dark it got, personally.
Yeah, see, so, but the thing is, though, is that based on my experiences and people that I've known and things that I've seen, that what happened makes sense. Like,
I'm not saying it didn't make sense.
Especially because of the way that you guys presented to that character what had happened. Like,
to be fair, I didn't realize that's how it was going to be presented, you know?
Like, and anyone could have interjected. No, I know. You know, I was gonna say, I know I talked to Ethan out of trying to say that he hasn't fully said it, but I think he kind of like, because he said he was gonna side with the one character. Yeah, he was gonna side with Pedro the entire time, and I'm like, you guys could have stopped at any moment. You know, yada yada this, yada yada that. But I didn't do that for like a shock value or like I wasn't trying to like get a reaction to anyone. I did that because to me, that's what would happen. That's why, like.
Yeah.
If I were to explain that, which I can explain the context outside of this podcast because it's pretty dark.
It is.
But like, I'm also, that's the other thing about my game is that our world's not like, the world sucks. Like it doesn't make any sense for the world to not suck. And I don't mean just like dark, like what happened in my game, obviously without all the fantastical elements and stuff, is at least realistic. Some elements of it has actually happened somewhere. And it's not like I am doing that because I'm like, oh, I'm edgy or I'm trying to like make a point. Like I was just playing that character exactly how I thought they would react and do things. So when you were like, you had a choice, and I'm like, well, no, I didn't make that choice. The character did that.
That's philosophy that we won't get into.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a part of my game. I don't look at my characters as things that I make choices through. That my characters are doing. It's like basically trying to build like literally playing Detroit recently.
I was trying to make the argument that if you like are a person writing a character and they're like, oh, this character would make this choice, you technically choose whether or not they make that choice by allowing it to happen.
I mean, yeah, but that's more what I was saying. I've built these characters to feel like they're independent of me. and I wouldn't like.
I don't know. That's just something I was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is weird playing Detroit and realizing that my games are literally like those flow charts in the game, based on like the different things that happen.
Yeah, I try not to do that too much. I like to be the more reactive and seeing like how would it happen in the moment. That's just me. Like you could think of like all the possible like paths, but then I found that people tend to take like the one you weren't expecting. So instead of per se planning every single one, I just think of possible like maybe one or two outcomes and just wait to see what happens. Because you could always like you could plan these outcomes, but because of how free people are in D&D to do whatever they want, I'd rather just react in the moment.
Well, it doesn't mean I plan every single outcome.
No. I know. I'm just saying as regards to your metaphor you were just making. I'm not per se like that.
Yeah, I know. I know you're not. I've been in your game.
Have you?
Yep.
Have you? What if we're playing it right now?
Yeah, I'm playing the game right now. All right. So we spent a lot of time on style.
Yeah.
Guess we'll bring it back to Zach here. As a player, what you looking for?
Oh wow, we have like
Yeah, I know.
All right.
rapid fire.
Yeah, we'll try to go real quick about this.
Like when you're a player, like what do you enjoy? Like what do you want to do in D&D when you get to be a character? Like
I mean, for me, combat isn't quite as important. I like combat, you know, it's fun, but
I think we can all agree collectively around the table we like combat. Like it's a good time.
yeah.
But yeah,
It's not like my focus. Like I don't come to D&D for the combat. I
Right.
come for the role play, for friends.
Yeah.
I can go sessions and sessions and sessions without having any combat, but it is nice to at least have a little bit. I mean, I haven't had a huge amount of GMs in my life. I've 3, 4 maybe total. Yeah, you know,
I'm
Frank,
sorry.
Tyler,
I think
Ethan.
that's you know,
sorry.
funnily enough, I think that's also something that influences you, like when you're DMing.
No, we talked about that with the Mercer Effect video.
Yeah,
Plug.
Yeah.
Where like it could be people you watch, but it can also be like the people who you've played with.
Yeah,
it can
like-
affect your style.
Like
yeah.
I think out of this table, I've definitely had the most DMs, and also ran for maybe not.
No, I've always been the DM.
Yeah,
I've played in Brett's game.
yeah,
I played in your game,
yeah,
and then I played in Ashley's game,
yeah.
which I would argue I didn't play in that game. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
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 So combat's not the focus. Communal aspect.
Being
the character.
It's kind of hard to pick out things where it's like I specifically like ask for this from the GM.
I mean, yeah, it's more of just like when you show up and you get to like play, like you know, what are you enjoying about it more so than.
I
what
will
do you
say our
want
group
and need?
very recently has gotten more into like, so you'll notice with D&D groups, it takes like, because you're spending literally 3+ hours every week or so with a group, you get close. Our group has more recently now gone like outside of things to do stuff like, hey, we're going to go see this movie. Let's go hang out. You know?
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. So I'm glad that that's starting to happen too. Like we're friends and D&D is not the thing that makes us friends. So it doesn't feel like when something doesn't go your way, it's ruining a friendship.
Yeah.
Which can be a problem sometimes for people.
Yeah. But like I haven't come across this yet, but something I would really want to avoid is like the sort of GM versus player dynamic. That does not appeal to me at all. I get it could be fun for some people probably, but for me, nah, that is a no-go.
Well, my perspective of that is if you're going to do that as the GM, you could just be like, all right, you're starting the campaign, rocks fall and you die. All right, I win. It's like, it's not like if you're doing it as a versus, there's no contest. So, but I get it. It's more of like, can I give you a CR monster? Like, what can I throw at you that is balanced but also not? Yeah, like I get it from that. Yeah. But
It's so weird that you feel like
that.
you haven't encountered that, because that's kind of how I feel when I play in Frank's game.
Oh, really?
Have you seen how many of my characters have died?
Yeah, but like
That's never intentional.
Like that last
Yeah,
one.
intentional, but
Kay
it
was
also,
probably-
but
Kay
you
was
also have
probably
to, but you also have to come in with the fact that, like I said, the way I look at how you make a lot of your characters, because we play so often, you optimize the combat. So almost all the time, it feels like I'm playing to survive, not so much get to be my character. Because I feel like every time I've made a character choice, it's been like, all right, well, either you die or something terrible happens, and there's no real payout for it. But
okay.
so as a player, which you haven't got to be very often.
I was saying I don't really do that much. The longest I've been in a campaign is 5 sessions. Yeah, no, I'm being serious. I have not. So like, I don't know. because like I can get everything from as a player that I can as a GM. So I guess it's more just the making the backstory part that I really enjoy, because like I enjoy the world building so much.
Yeah.
And like the layers of it.
Right.
Tyler has read my character's backstory.
Yep.
And he was like, bro.
Yep.
I was like, I know. Feel free to like. I
mean, it's not the deepest backstory I've read, but then again,
well,
if you've ever met my ex, you know,
I've enjoyed.
hard to beat that one. That backstory.
I was saying I enjoy as a DM where it's like, here's a backstory that has stuff, but here's also some stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
You know, and so I try to leave
Where
it
it's
with
a
you.
cooperative effort.
Yeah, where I was like, hey, there's this thing that happened. My character doesn't know. He assumes it's this.
Yeah.
That could be wrong. You can do whatever you want. You can mess with. Yeah, like when it's like, hey, my character has like a month or two where they didn't know what they did. It's like, oh, you fool. Or it's like, hey, this person came in to this character's backstory and murdered their family, but I don't know who they are. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Turns out they were pawns of Vecna.
Yeah, something crazy.
Yeah.
So,
So,
Jeff.
Yeah.
So sort of like Zach, I haven't had very many DMs. I've had literally 2 DMs, your one shot and your main campaign that we're doing now. And I've only ever watched one other campaign, which of course Critical Role, Matt Mercer.
Critical Role. Roll critically.
But I will say, just before I start out with what I like, I think it very much depends. Like when you're talking about what you like in a DM specifically, it very much depends on who you are. Yeah. So like I absolutely
I knew. Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. It's more the question. Yeah. It's kind of you know. Thanks to learn about my friends and learn more about how they feel about certain things.
But like I absolutely loved that one shot that I did with you guys. But just because of who I am, like the way that Frank does combat, it's incredible. And I don't think that I would be nearly into DM, or I'm sorry, not DM, Dungeons and Dragons.
I would not be into direct messaging.
I wouldn't be nearly into it if Frank wasn't the type of DM that I feel like my characters will always draw more towards. That being said, obviously combat. And I feel like you have a tendency to run a game the way that you want your characters to be in a game. So obviously combat. I will say one thing that I really would like more of is NPCs.
Listen. There are many Dogons in that place.
Oh yeah.
You are free to. I literally have a list of Dogons you can interact with, but like.
Yeah, I tried to, but then I got left out for the combat for the night.
Yeah.
You chose to leave.
Yeah, I chose to interact with the NPCs.
I was saying we'll start with that. Well, no, you won't be here that Sunday.
Nope.
Dang it. Ooh. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
We'll figure it out though.
But yeah, so that's what I look for.
Yeah. I think I have many NPCs and like Arnost and all of them. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna talk to them, right? No? Okay. They're just gonna be there with cool stuff. All right.
I might be forgetting who's honest.
My point exactly.
Point proven. Anyways.
Leader of the Pioneer Freedom.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I think a big problem with it right now is just like we're in such a stressful situation that it's like we need to focus on what the main goal has been laid out to be.
And getting out,
Yeah. So I might literally be like force you guys into having conversations. I mean, like probably like, well, I already told you with the morale thing, like slowly role playing that.
Yeah.
And making it like, oh, you are becoming heroes. And so that would mean more NPC interaction.
Something
so I might literally
love.
have to force that in a little bit more.
Yeah. Wouldn't be.
Or just
upset.
let me do it. Because that's what I've been wanting to do. That's why I wanted to do the war plot.
No, I know. Wait till you get back.
Yeah.
So
That's
what
a
do you
different
look for in a
character.
game?
Yeah, in a few minutes because we're a little over time.
Oh, yeah, I know. As a player, what do I look for? Well, I've had, maybe unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, I've had quite a few DMs. I've had DMs that I've co-DM'd with, but I've also been the player for because I was in a West Marches campaign. I've done a bit of Shadowrun. I've had multiple friends host different one-shots and things like that. For me, the biggest thing is having a DM who is able to adapt to what the group wants, and also a DM who feel like they see the effort that you are putting into either a character or something involved in your character or in the game, and they're able to match that. I think is what I look for. I like DMs who are flexible, and I like DMs who, you know, show that sort of appreciation for the work that you're trying to do, and especially when you stick to characters and things like that. That's what I really enjoy, because role playing is the biggest thing for me in D&D.
Yeah, I'm a little upset that I do this entire arc, have it tied into Darius's backstory for only to him not be here.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this could, like, I feel like that's where a lot of the interactions could come from, and I'm probably scared of that because I want to wait for Darius to have those interactions. Like, so like the interaction where Dogen meets his parents for the first time, it's like, be a lot better if Darius was here, but he's not, so I'm gonna have to roleplay both of that interaction.
Or just not show us the interaction and just don't worry about it because he hasn't been here for literal weeks.
Yeah,
I've like actually physically been in the same room with Darius twice.
that is true.
Yep.
Yeah,
Sad times.
I mean that's his work, unfortunately.
True,
We can't force that.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the unfortunate thing.
We could just kidnap him and just
We could.
hold him
Yeah, we
here.
could.
Just kidnap him,
We could.
tie him up, and say, you're gonna play D&D.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Alrighty. Yeah, so that was my super fun and interesting topic. I really hope everybody enjoyed it.
I liked it.
leave a comment if you didn't.
Yeah, leave a comment if you.
But like it if you did. We'll see.
Like it anyway. Don't hit the dislike. Just hit the like button.
Smash
And tell
that
me what
like
you-
button.
Yeah,
You do
smash
know, like, the
like
majority of people who like the videos are in this room right now, right?
button. Yeah, just tell me hit the like button, everybody in this room, and maybe one or two others of you, and then
I
in
might
the
forget.
comments tell me about how this was a really stupid question. You know.
But it wasn't.
Awesome.
No, it's not always.
Anyways,
Yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Again, like, comment, subscribe. The most thing we care about. I know how I could have phrased that. I don't care. Thank you so much. You are always welcome to listen to the audio podcast as well. Otherwise, we will catch you on the next time, starting with Tyler Spence.
this has been Tyler Spence.
This has been Zachary Richard Dunkerton.
This has been Jeff.
And I will continue to be me, stuck in this eternal podcast until the next time. We'll see you then.
Forever and ever.